Hello, happy Saturday, Sonder family. You have found your monthly setup for a brand new month. We're looking at June, the sixth month of the year. We're kind of hitting that halfway point of 2025, which is ridiculous how fast that's gone by. Welcome, welcome. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your on camera facilitator tonight as we just help each other along as we set up our brand new journals, get ready for this new month of June, and a new theme of purpose. You have the former Team Texas, but we still call ourselves Team Texas on the call tonight. My sidekick is the fabulous Katie Gideon, and she's popping on. She's giving you a little peace, a little wave. She is dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. And we love when we get to work together. We used to both be in the Houston area, like at the same time. And then I moved and well, no, maybe I'd already moved. But anyway, it was short that I was almost there where I could see her, meet her. We got to do that when she gets back to the States. But anyway, so we are here to set up our June trackers. We're going to do our May reflections, and we're going to also figure out what our intentions are for the month. I'm going to encourage you to make sure that you see in the chat your name to everyone. If it says host and panelist, then that means just Katie and myself will see your message, which is okay. But we do a lot of sharing and a lot of like encouraging. Maybe you're looking for a way to repurpose and you can like let us know what's going on and folks can like jump in and give you that support. So, make sure that that chat is set to everyone. This is a mics off, cameras off event. And so, you can turn the volume down if you don't want to listen to me. We have closed captioning. We also, if the music's not your vibe, that's okay. Turn the volume down. And then we're just gonna take off and get going. So, I love this little graphic. Like wildflowers, you must allow yourself to grow in all the places people thought you never would. Thought that was just a fun way to start off our new theme of purpose. And speaking of purpose, we have some really exciting live webinars coming up this week. What a way to start the month of June. So on June 3rd and then again on June 5th, Mayha is going to be doing some live webinars, and Mayha is our founder. If you are kind of new to Silk and Sonder, but the we will have one these are all Pacific times, noon Pacific and 5 p.m. Pacific on both June the 3rd and June the 5th. And she will be kind of doing these neat topics. If you scan that QR code, it will take you directly to the Eventbrite link to sign up for these. And Katie is currently dropping in those same links so that you can grab that. And they are free. Yes, that's a great question. And I should have said that, Karen. So thank you for for asking that in the chat. And she will be pairing this with how our life coach program can also like help you figure out why you're still burnt out. We're really going to be taking some deep dives into personalities, how we're wired, what are our saboteurs, what is, your attachment style, all that. She's going to be pairing it with our life coach. But even if you're not on that program or you're still kind of curious about it, come and see, because Mayha has that passion for all the things Silk and Sonder, and you will learn from her. And yes, Christine, they should be recorded and eventually posted to the YouTube channel. So if it doesn't work out in your time frame, go ahead and check out that YouTube link. Katie will also be sharing that link at during our time together. I also want to mention something very exciting for our Midwest people, those Minnesota, Iowan, Sonder family members. Jennifer Krippner who resides in Minnesota, is getting ready to do an in-person event on June the 11th. And watch the chat if that's you, if that speaks to you. Katie's going to drop that link in the chat so you can go grab that and register for that live event, to hang out in real person, with other Sonder family members. And so you should also get by geography, they're going to send out an email to folks that are in those areas. So, also you can keep an eye out for that. So we're real excited about some of these live events that are offering the possibility for our Sonder family to meet one another. All righty. So there are the community guidelines. Is there anybody here for the first time? I know the chat's been moving a little bit, so I wasn't able to see if anybody said, hey, oh, yes, I see Samantha's here for the first time. Anybody else? We want to give you a welcome. And then, of course, I'm seeing our Sonder family, the familiar names, our Sonder sisters. So you're here. Welcome. When we meet together, we always share these community guidelines. This keeps our place together, our community safe, secure. It takes care of yourself. It takes care of each other. So we always like to show you those community guidelines. Oh, and you know what? While y'all are kind of talking about these in real life meetups, Jennifer actually is self-employed and she goes all over the United States. And so her goal is, as she travels with work, to try to maybe create some time to hit up different communities. So I'll also keep that in mind. And I know that headquarters is kind of gathering some learnings from these first gatherings that we're doing, and then I think they're going to really try to encourage folks to maybe figure out how to do that in their own community. So anyhow, yeah, I know. Oh my goodness. Right when you get back from vacation, Brenda. Okay. Crossing my fingers for you. Um, Okie dokie. We've got June. Here's some fun facts about this month. I mean, we had Memorial Day last weekend, and that's always that unofficial kickoff to summer. And so here we are. We're looking at that. June's got some fun things. National Papaya Month. Maybe you're a June birthday. Please say if it's your birthday this month. I happen to know that Katie is a June baby. She's going to be celebrating all month long. Her birthday's at the end of the month. Katie and I both share astrological signs. I'm a Cancer, but I'm at the very beginning of July. So that we're welcoming our Geminis and our Cancers here. And then I loved this graphic and I thought it really fit in with the idea of purpose, how to love yourself. Stop being responsible for everyone else. Invest in your own growth. Seek support when needed. Give yourself enough time to recharge. Be active in your preferable way, like what's right for you. Pause and evaluate what's not working. That's such a great kind of consideration as we start thinking about this month's theme of purpose. Remember, you are what you believe yourself to be. So we're going to be really digging in this month about what is our personal purpose and what does that look like, as we consider ourselves, not anybody else. So, um, Mayha's letter on page 2, we always encourage you to read it. The print is kind of small, I noticed. So, if it you got to get those readers out, maybe take a picture of it and or scan it in and make it big. But a couple of things that popped out for me was that purpose isn't something we define once and then forget about it. It evolves with us. And that is so true because think of all the ages and stages that you have been through. Even if you're sitting there as a younger person, I'm on the little bit of the older end, but even like as a 20 something, think of all the ages and stages you've been through. That's human development, right? And so our purpose is different as we enter different stages of our life. So we're going to be taking this month to reflect, to really think about our own sense of purpose. Like what brings you meaning, right? What brings you compassion, connection, balance, passion. And we love good graphics. I love this little flower. I love your petals. And the flower on the right says, "Thanks. I feel like I'm blooming way slower than you though." And then that other one on the left says, "But we're different flowers, silly." Just that good reminder that our purpose is going to be just that, our purpose. That we bloom and grow and we go through these ages and stages at our own good time. So, this evening's agenda is going to be doing that monthly acrostic poem where we kind of get our juices flowing for the idea behind our new theme. We're going to take a moment for our May reflections, set our intentions for this new month, and then look at those mood trackers and those that mood tracker and that habit tracker. So let's jump in with our purpose acrostic poem. I love, it's like, let's play with some words. So turn to a fresh page in your journal. I'm doing something different this month that you might find works for you. Give me 1 second and I'll share my example. But we suggest that you just free associate 7 words or phrases for purpose. I went with just the 7 words. I used each letter and made a word out of that. And then make your acrostic, drawing upon that brainstormed list. Sentences are fine. 1 word, sets of words. You can embed the word purpose in a phrase. Let's look at some examples. So here's a couple on the left from Sonder family. And then this month, I decided to do um my little acrostic map poem in the middle of my mind map. And I'm really going to reflect on the words that I landed on. And I tried to think about the word purpose through the lens of being a retired person and finishing up a whole lot of other chapters in my life, but I'm not done. And so I really tried to choose words that help me embrace this kind of last third of my life. So I popped that right smack dab in the middle of my mind map. If you're here for the first time, a mind map is the activity that we do at our weekly setups, and we do a deep dig each week. It's a bonus prompt into the theme of our month. And so, anyway, I'm gonna use those words as kind of my anchor as I work through my mind map this month. So hopefully that might be something that is inspiring to you if you want to just, kind of do that small. If you're not sure that you wanna land on purpose, you could think about the similes for purpose. Aim, intention, objective, intent, goal, design. You could also do a little acrostic to June, like that little poem that we see, welcoming in this new month, and a new theme. If an acrostic poem isn't for you, that's okay. We've got some other ideas. You could write that note saying goodbye to May and hello to June. I said it's almost like you could write it to your aunts, Aunt May and Aunt June, and tell them thank you for the month, or maybe what you didn't care for in the month. You can maybe spend time with that simplicity definition. And simplicity would have been last month. I forgot to change that word. You can spend time with your definition of purpose. And last month I did a word cloud. So I think I'm going to do a word cloud for purpose this month. And you might even want to choose a haiku and really tap into your poetry. Yes, a Dear John letter to instead of Dear Jude. So, let me put on some music while you start your consideration of what this theme is meaning to you this month. And then we'll get going with the rest of our monthly setup. So hopefully you have your juices kind of going. You may not be quite finished with your poem. Maybe you're kind of thinking about what you want things to look like, but hopefully we've got that like energy and we're ready to start digging in. Some great stuff in the chat. India did choose to do a haiku, so that's always fun. I love, when we write poetry, we tap into those parts of our brain that aren't always used, and so that's so good for that creative portion of your mind. So while you're finishing up, or maybe you're still kind of working on that, we're going to go ahead and invite you to turn to page 8. And we're going to start with our May reflections. And I like to divide this page up. So I want to encourage you to maybe just start thinking about this past month. How did it go? What were the wins? What are the things that the fist bumps? Well, yeah, the fist bumps, and it made you happy, you accomplished something. Doesn't have to be big things. It can be small things like I took my vitamins most morning of the month. That's a win if it's something that you're working on. Look at those challenges, those things that didn't go so great. And then of course, reflecting back on what were your favorite moments, and maybe those favorite moments came from your wins or came from the challenges that you overcame uh through the month. Remember to go back and check with your rosebud thorn reflections from your weekly setups, those when you did kind of that look back over your weeks. It could also be helpful to look at your phone and go look at your camera roll. What was important enough for you to stop and snap a picture or grab a screenshot because something spoke to you? Look at your calendar. How did you spend your days? Were there some special events? May is that Maycember, right? Where it's I think I saw somebody say it's like the holidays, only it wears a tank top, like it's crazy time, right? That wrapping up of spring and the school year and graduations and that kind of thing. You might also pull up those credit card statements. Where did you spend your money? That can also be a good way to remember what the month brought you. So I'm going to put on some music while you go through your month of May. Think about, what you want to celebrate, what you want to remember, what you want to bring forward with you, and maybe what you'd like to leave behind. And then we'll take a few moments after that to look at our bottom part of this page. But right now, we'll just do the wins, challenges, and favorite moments. thank you for sharing as you were comfortable. You know, sometimes they can be all the same, right? Like Susie was sharing, the win was going to see uh folks getting to Florida and getting to be there, but also the challenge was seeing aging parents while in Florida. So that Florida trip had that yin and yang. That's just kind of how life is, right? So sometimes you may find the same things on these lists. As I was actually working on this with y'all, my favorite moments, one of them was the in real life Sonder meetup in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So that was a favorite moment for me. And then a challenge, was just we need this new roof and insurance is going to help with that. But it makes us have to make some other decisions about, like, structures in at our house, like the patio and stuff, and I'm like, I'm tired of making decisions, right? So I have that fatigue that feels like a challenge. So you may be finishing this up. While you're doing that, let's drop down to the bottom. And I love doing this space a little separate from the reflection of the month because I feel like this is sort of the base for where we're going to go in the month of June as we take moments to see what we want to start, what we want to stop, and what we want to continue within this idea of reflecting. So of course the things we want to start, what do you want to start or restart? Sometimes there's that idea, that reframing. Um, what is something that you've been meaning to do, you haven't done? Do we need to look at some new habits? This is the time to start reflecting on that. And then conversely, what are the things you want to stop doing? What's not serving you? And then celebrating those things that you've done well. And it could be from a challenge and you want to you know, uh keep jumping into those challenges with maybe the attitude that you're embracing, right? Because you're like, it's still a challenge, but I'm doing great and I want to keep that spirit alive. Kind of, where you are in your journey. So some of the ways you can set this up, you could actually use these boxes as somewhat of a theme. So maybe there's some area in your life you really want to focus on, relationships or health and wellness, decluttering, core values, education. Perhaps you embrace your word of the year through the lens of these boxes. Maybe you really want to embrace purpose this month. And what does that look like when you think about what you want to start and stop and continue? So that's just, some little ideas to do that. Um, Now I love when folks have shared this in the past. I think it's a really great idea to kind of do a little bit more of a deep dig into, like, what is it? Why do I need to do this? And how am I going to do this? So, what is it that I want to start? Why do I want to start this? And how will I get this accomplished? How will I get this done? This is a really good way to then utilize this space for setting your weekly goals, for setting those intentions for the month when you kind of do that little bit of a deeper dig. I loved this one on the upper left. It's so simple. Start small, stop complaining, continue prioritizing my health. Just that was just so powerful. Those few words to really get to the point. um, and then we've got, again, more of that asking those questions, but this is also a really good way to set this up. You can kind of repurpose the box. I feel this way because of whatever, and I want to feel, so that you can see the one on the top says I feel because, and what is that telling me I need? So that's a really great reflection, as well as look at the one on the bottom. Here's what I want to start. One thing, and how am I going to do it? And why am I going to do it? So really just focusing on one thing to start doing. So just yeah, just some, different ideas about being very intentional with these pages. or with these spaces on this page at the bottom. So let's go ahead and take just a few moments to work on that. You might be finishing up your reflections, and then you can dive into that start, stop, and continue. And let us know like what's coming up for you if you're comfortable sharing, because you might inspire someone else as they're considering how they're going to embrace these spaces on their page. All right. Like I said, I always feel like these are the spaces that really help us think about what our month is going to look like. So, with that idea in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at our June intentions. We've got these 6 categories: spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. Now, you don't have to use those titles or those areas of life if there is something else that speaks to you. I've got some examples of how some of our Sonder family have changed some of these spaces up. You also don't have to do all 6 of the areas. So this month we've got lots of those kind of national month of those observances that might work their way into one of these spaces as you're considering your intentions for the month. Safety Month, National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. That's a good one for those of you who suffer. Maybe that's where your physical health kind of mindset comes in this month as you embrace that and you start looking, kind of digging into what that month means, what kind of resources are available for you. It's National Candy Month, of course, Pride Month, Alzheimer's awareness, Audiobook Appreciation Month, Cancer Survivors Month, Great Outdoors Month, and National Zoo and Aquarium Month. So maybe some of those will inform some of your spaces. Now, I shared this great graphic at last month's setup because I had shared sometimes I like a to-do list. I like having that check it all off. And I just kind of have trouble sometimes not making my intentions into this to-do list for the month. And so this is more of a reminder for me, but wanted to share it with you that intentions are much more about how you want to feel in these different areas of your life and not necessarily about what you want to accomplish. They sort of drive the things that you will accomplish as you set up goals and habits. But these are more about feeling. And so there's kind of the both sides of intentions versus goals. And so I thought that might be helpful to see. I love the idea that the timing of intentions means this moment right now. What are you wanting, for lack of a better word, to manifest for the month? It's very, very short term. Like, what do you need at this moment? What are you feeling right now? Thinking about the relationship you have with yourself. Intentions are going to be very broad and very vague. And it will goals are more narrowly focused, right? We get all the plans in place to make them happen. So if that's something that speaks to you, feel free to grab a screenshot. And I neglected to mention that if you see something that you might want to consider even for a later time, grab a screenshot. This is also being recorded, so you can access any of the monthly setup socials. So, and yeah, Katie is saying while we're thinking about those intentions, what do you need this month? And it's this time of transition from spring to summer and like we were saying, yeah, she did the setup last night. She shared how busy this time of year feels. There's this built-in pressure to get things done because we maybe have been sitting on things wintering and that kind of mindset. So, let's look at some examples of this. Maybe something will inspire you and also share in the chat like what you do with your intentions pages. Of course, thinking about our theme, is there a way you could use purpose in these different areas of your life? Lots of folks will maybe embrace a lyric or a song title or a quote to kind of capture that feeling for the intention. Stickers want to be stuck. Do you have some great inspiring stickers? And then there's also the idea of the duality, something you want to let go of and something you want to start doing. Maybe go look at that stop, start, and continue space and move that over into one or two or three of these areas. So some tips and tricks, you can do maybe the top three or four that you feel like you need to put time and investment in. You don't have to fill out all of them. This example on the screen, you can see the last two boxes were left for a quote and a verse that's going to guide them through the month. And then they're working on spiritual health, physical health, personal health, and key relationships. And again, that idea of renaming any of the categories that aren't speaking to you. So I I mentioned exploring the idea of duality. So here's two great examples. This person's going to do more and less in each one of these. The person next to it is going to embrace and release in each one of these examples. You can do more and less, embrace, release, do, avoid, the kind of that balance of life, the yin and the yang. Perhaps you just choose one single word, like the example on the right. Or I mentioned the stickers. Maybe the stickers are what's going to inspire your spaces this month. And I'll go back through these while you're setting it up. We've got some very simple ideas on the example on the left. Um, They left all the categories the same, and then this one of the kitty cats is an old one, but I pulled it back up because it's pretty cute, and, yeah, Alexandria, you're right, that washi is popping, but, like, I love the cat graphic because, like, look at the little professional goals, like, I wanna dress for success, and so that kitty cat's gonna remind that person that little weights for the physical health. So this image is capturing the feeling for the intention. Now, here you can see some things that have been changed up. So instead of spiritual health, the example on the left is embracing mental health. Instead of personal life, they are doing personal fun. That's really a neat way to welcome in June and be purposeful with seeking fun things in their life. And then instead of money management, home management. You can see the great quotes to inform the intentions for the one that is over there on the right. So I'm going to put on some music while you consider how you're going to set your intentions. I'm going to ask you to share some things in the chat. Share, of course, the intention for particular areas, maybe the ones that are really speaking to you highly this month. But also, if you're changing anything up, let us know. I'm changing home management to or I'm sorry, I'm taking money management to home management because the things that you're embracing could be inspiring to someone else. And then we'll get on with our next set of trackers. Brenda, thank you for sharing that you're just not feeling like doing the intentions. It's okay to take a break, right? And like maybe life just needs to unfold and you can just be open to what happens this month. Sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't, and there's not a right or wrong. So I love that you shared that, because sometimes we do just need a little break from things and just let it be, right? So thank you for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and look at that mood tracker now, right? So if you will just flip that page over, the mood tracker can be so important in helping us see our trends of how, maybe life is hitting at certain times. And then when we see the trends, we can make shifts, right? Or we get like this wake up call. Um, or like, gosh, I'm always grumpy Monday through Friday, and maybe that's telling me I need to really explore my vocation and what I'm doing and where I'm working or how I approach it, right? So we're looking for those kinds of trends, and then we get these tools in place that can help us, be a positive person. One of the things I wanted to just kind of share this evening is this idea of halt, and it is used in recovery a lot. But I think, recovery programs technically aren't we all like recovering from life? Sometimes the things that are very intense for recovery programs really serves all of us well. And the idea of halt is doing this self check-in when you have feelings that are making you not be your best self, and you recognize that. And you stop and just do a moment. Yeah, I did. I threw this in there a couple years ago, Peg. It's coming back, right? So we ask ourselves, am I hungry? Well, then maybe I need to go and nourish myself. Or maybe I'm not hungry, but I'm thirsty. I haven't had that water. Um, am I angry? And why am I angry? And what can I do to stop that? Like, do I need to reset? Do I need to take a breath? Do I need to maybe hum for a few minutes to sort of just bring myself down? Am I lonely? Is it time for me to reach out? Do I need to just say hey to somebody? Um, or am I tired? Am I well rested? Was last night a bad night's rest? And so it's got me in this frame of mind that's not healthy. So, right, it's like the stop skill. Yes. So, that halt is a really good check in mindset, especially as we are examining our moods and embracing, maybe what is being sent our way. So I wanted to just kind of throw that out for a few moments as you consider that. Yes, we've all been hangry, and like I know when I don't get my sleep, I'm a mess. So we've got our mood trackers. Sometimes you're gonna get this circle tracker, and sometimes you get the hexagon like this month. So this is Team Hexagon, and we've got the three teams. We've got Team Circle, we've got Team Hexagon, and we got Team I don't care. I'm just so grateful for this tracker. So we'll make it work. Again, the reasons to start tracking that mood, identify those patterns. When we see those patterns, we can put in coping skills like doing that halt moment. And then we also learn about how we self-soothe through those check-ins with ourselves, like what's working for us. So there is the feelings wheel. We like to suggest that if you're setting this up as a mood tracker, that you maybe look at two or three positive feelings, two or three negative feelings to track, or and then maybe even like a meh, kind of a middle of the road. It's just a-okay. So that you can kind of look at that. We suggest starting with going in the middle and starting with that fear, love, anger, sadness, surprise, and joy. But you can, as you start exploring, you can go further out into this wheel, and maybe you're having a lot of fear and anger feelings. So maybe you're really wanting to hone in on those and identify sources and maybe exactly how you're feeling. And so you might end up going sort of to the outside sections of those spaces to really dig in to those feelings so that you can try to remedy maybe those negative feelings. So it's kind of taking what you need. Um, of course, we've got this month of purpose. So what does that mean for your mood? How does that frame out that check-in? And folks fill this out in many different ways. You can do a lot of feelings. You can check in with yourself throughout the day, kind of record all the feelings, or maybe do an end of the day reflection, like what was the strongest feeling I had today, and sort of track that stronger feeling. Or maybe a good morning check in and a good night check in and track like how did I start the day? How am I ending the day? And people do all kinds of ways of tracking that. So you can see the one like up at the upper left, they're going to just draw little lines to represent those moods. Those of you who are washi tape lovers, look at those little squares that they're using to track. And I love like the idea, like I am feeling on fire and, just putting that nice, beautiful piece of washi tape. That's kind of fun. The one on the bottom left, it's just a check-in. I'm acknowledging my mood, not really tracking particular moods, just that I'm doing a check-in. Maybe you're utilizing those 8 water droplets in the weekly menu section, the meal planner section, and you're checking in like 8 times throughout the day. And then you can just say, okay, I acknowledge my mood. I'm feeling grumpy, or I acknowledge my mood. It's a great day and I'm feeling happy. The mood tracker up at the top. Look at that very first thing they're tracking. No spoons. And again, this is another theory, the spoon theory. Is the idea of, folks who this kind of comes from chronic illnesses. Most people start their day with a lot of spoons, unlimited spoons. But if you are going through a tough time, either physically, emotionally, mentally, maybe work is really rough, you might really be exhausting yourself. And so imagine you have 12 spoons for the day. And you can kind of consider how you spend your spoons, right? So, getting out of bed and getting up and getting dressed and getting going, that could take up to 6 of your spoons. That means you've got 6 spoons left for the whole rest of the day. So, this person is kind of doing this reflection on how much is being taken from them for whatever reason, the fatigue that causes. So I would yeah, or am I feeling cranky like the one although her sticker all the way over on the right, but it's such a great thing. So if like chronic illness is something you deal with, or you're just going through like a rough season, go investigate different articles on this idea of the spoon theory, because I think it helps us be gentle with ourselves, and it gives us a way of communicating. Like, I was trying to talk about it with my husband because he's having a really hard time with this second knee surgery. I said, imagine, let me know, how many spoons do you have left at the end of the day? If you don't feel like going for that walk, just let me know. You're out of spoons. You've used your spoons just getting through the day. So I think it's a really neat thing for us to explore. Again, something that all of us can employ depending on what's going on in our life. There's that mood tracker where you can see just kind of coloring it all in. And then, of course, we have ways to repurpose this tracker if you don't use a mood tracker. I always laugh. Maya says, I have too many moods in the day to track all of them. So you might use this for a different tracker. There are some suggestions for that. Here's some more ways that I've seen. Y'all do that. Maybe you write your wordle of the day each day in this tracker. A phrase a day, self-care, creativity. Maybe you're tracking your protein macros, your energy tracker. And last night when Katie was doing the setup, there was a conversation in the chat about how do I even like I want to track energy, but I don't know what that means. What does that look like? And so folks were sharing in the chat, like, here's how I do energy, and some of it was color coded. Like on down days, it's like they color in brown. My energy's low, brown down. That kind of thing. And they were sharing how they use color just to track that energy level. But if you've got some ideas and that's something that sound like, hey, I think I might want some information, drop that in the chat because we can support one another. This self-care tracker is a repurpose of this tracker. And you can see they have done 6 of the 7 types of rest that they are wanting to work on through the month. And it looks to me like with the hexagons, they're trying to take moments to embrace each type of rest throughout the day. So I thought that was a really lovely idea. Here's some more repurposing workout tracker. Here's, kind of that like, am I stressed? Am I calm? Am I feeling shut down? Did I drink water? Did I walk? Do I have a mindful pause that could tie into, did I halt? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I lonely? A spending tracker, business habits. If you are an entrepreneur, that might be a really great way to use this space. Or also just thinking about what makes me flourish, right? What gives me purpose? And you could do like they did and do organize, plan, read, journal, that kind of thing. So let me put a little bit of music while you do this tracker, and then we'll come back and set up our habit tracker. right. Alexandria reminded me of something that I meant to say. Um, I think it is very helpful on the mood tracker as well as the habit tracker to sort of highlight the days in your month that look different from your typical days. So, maybe you have traditional weekends off. So maybe you highlight your weekends because that can help you see those trends, right? You may like every weekend I'm just fine. It's the work that's getting me. So like draw something around, like highlight, your weekends or your days off if you work a non-traditional job, like maybe shift work at a hospital or something like that, because knowing what days you're feeling certain ways can be very helpful. So now let's finish up with our last tracker, our habit tracker. And again, I'm going to encourage you to get on that tracker and maybe, like highlight those days that are different from your typical days. We love this tracker because it helps us start new habits. Now I'm going to tell you, don't start a whole bunch of new habits at once. Give yourself a couple of gimmies. But it also, you can have some like no habits, like what are we stopping and what do we want to continue? Perhaps you'll find some of that information in that stop, start, and continue box. Or perhaps you'll go look back at your intentions page for the month. Like, are there habits in those intention spaces that could be brought forward so that you are creating your goals and your habits to support those intentions that you set up for yourself? And again, we have our days up and down, up and down, up and down. But when we start thinking about it in terms of decades, these habits will serve us well. So we may have really great days when we get them done and days we don't do it, but in the long run, the goal of getting these habits established, over a period of time, it happens. So that's what I love about, our pages and being able to see the graphic and the data that's there, right? Again, maybe go grab our theme for the month to focus your habits, or get your own theme like you see. Look at last month's habit tracker. Did you get something locked in? Is it time to add something new? Perhaps you put something that you're already doing and you pair it with that brand new thing so that the brand new thing is more likely to happen. Did you have a habit last month and you look back and it didn't happen as much as you thought it should? So is there a reframe of that habit that you bring into this month? On this tracker, you have, these lines, these 7 lines, but you don't have to fill out every line. So give yourself permission to take what you need. I like to share this one that's kind of on the left there is they put their why in each one of these sections. So, the unplug by 8 p.m. is the habit that they're trying to accomplish for the month. And they've written in my why. Why do I want to do that? As that reminder. And then they'll go check off as things happen. The example that's kind of upper middle, you can see we're tracking 4 things the month. They highlighted each one of the little, circles that they're going to be using to track. The one that's there on the bottom, again, just tracking a few things, but kind of color coded the weeks of the month there. So I liked that. So they could see, each week how things were going. Um, let's see. We've got the little sticker dots. That's fun. The one on the right, look how they've written outside of that tracker the things that are going on, because you might find if you're traveling, maybe those days something didn't happen. Again, this is a piece of data. I always say this is a piece of data. It's not meant to shame you. It's made to help you have clarity in your life and how you're doing. So if you look and you say, "Oh, I left a lot of those blank," and I'll be honest with you, my May tracker, one of my things was I did my whole tracker on my morning routine because I had gotten out of my morning routine. And when I look at make the bed, I have so many, I don't know why that was not the right thing. Some of it is I get up earlier and so then but I need to kind of reframe how I do that because a lot of the make the bed got left left out. Anyway, it was data, right? I collected data. I'm still me, regardless of making the bet or not. And then here's some, whoops, I went the wrong way. There's some habit tracker ideas for you to maybe look at. And let's work on this tracker. Tell us what you are tracking in this tracker. Again, this tracker is set up to kind of gather those things we want to do most days of the month. And then we'll come back and say goodbye to each other. We'll finish up. I am sure grateful that you chose to spend an hour with Team Texas this evening. Thank you for taking care of yourself and prioritizing your life this month by just carving out a little bit of time for yourself. We would love to see your setup in Sonder Club if you're comfortable. And I would love to see like these trackers maybe like toward the end of the month, share like what are you learning about yourself as you start looking at that, maybe around week 3 or 4. And I want to remind you, you can also give yourself permission. Like if you look after a couple of weeks and your habit tracker isn't looking like you want it to look, give yourself permission to change the habit mid-month. That's again why we collect this data because we can figure out, is it working? Is it not working? Again, there's a shout out for those great live free webinars that Mayhal's going to be doing this coming week on the 3rd and the 5th. They'll also be recorded. You'll find them on the YouTube channel. And Katie will drop this one more time, the link to be able to sign up for this there so that you can get the information to be able to log on. Don't forget that the Minnesota Midwest folks will have an event coming up on June 11th with Jennifer Krippner. Katie will also drop that information in the chat, but watch for an email if you live in those geographic areas because they're going to be pulling your info and sending you a direct email. Remember, we've also got that personalized coaching. And I just want to thank you for, we're gonna just embrace this month of purpose in our life. Um, so do it, Sonder family.
You
I'll see
defy
you
the
next time.
impossible. Got a heart unstoppable. You are more than ready. Yeah. Not just a fight, not just a dream. Amazing creator, relentless believer in who I am and what I got inside. Dream, see, write, live your story. Every day keeps unfolding, unfolding. Make it your own. Power is all yours. Dream, see, write, live your story. Dream big and live your story. So many roads for you to pave. Let them all go your way.